Good morning, brethren. This morning we're going to the Old Testament for our daily devotional. We're going to go to the book of Hosea. Perhaps not a book that we turn to as regularly as we do, say, with regards to the New Testament books, but a book in the Old Testament that is full of instruction and help for the people of God. In chapter 8 and verse 14, God says this about his people: Israel has forgotten his Maker and built palaces. Judah has fortified many towns, but I will send fire upon their cities that will consume their fortresses. Now you might think this is a strange text to take for our daily devotional, but whenever we stand back and examine it and think about just what God is saying here, we can see that this is very relevant for the age in which we live and for us Christians living in Western society in particular. What was happening back in Hosea's day? Israel had forgotten their Maker. The people of God had put God out of their mind. He was there somewhere in the background. It wasn't as if they had completely forsaken him, but they never really thought much about him. They were forsaking the place of worship. They were setting up their own altars to false gods and bowing down and worshipping them. And the worship of God was being greatly neglected. As well as that, everyone was looking out for themselves. And all they were interested in, it seems, was personal security, financial security, making the best of life. And so God refers here to the fact that they are building palaces. In other words, people were using all their energy and all their time and all their commitment to simply make themselves comfortable, to get themselves lovely houses that could be described as palaces. Everything that they had, their health, their strength, their energy, their commitment, was put into material things. It wasn't just in Israel, it was happening in Judah. Judah has fortified many towns. They wanted security. They built up their towns so that the towns were secure and nobody could attack them. They wanted to feel secure for themselves. They weren't looking to God for security. They weren't looking to God to be the one who was at the centre of their lives. The things of this world were more important to them than the things of God. They had become increasingly and now almost thoroughly materialistic. God says, I will send fire upon their cities that will consume their fortresses. In other words, all their efforts to have security were going to come to nothing. God, very simply, could tear them down. We Christians in the 21st century, particularly living in Western society, have never been as well off. We have houses in which to live, and let's be honest, many of us have very, very nice houses. We have transport to get about. Most of us have at least one car, if not two. We have a considerable degree of financial security. It's not as though the vast majority of us are eking out our income to the last penny at the end of the month, waiting desperately on the next paycheck or next government grant to come in. We have so many things in our homes: televisions, computers, cookers, all sorts of gadgets. And sadly, the reality is that many of us as Christians, and I include myself here, we have been drawn into a materialistic attitude to things that, to be honest, brethren, is completely unbecoming the people of God. The things of this world seem to be more important to Christians today than the things of the world to come. We've set our affections on things below, not on things above, as Paul says to the believers in Colossae. And we try to gain financial security. And there's nothing wrong in trying to ensure that we have what we need for the years ahead, for ourselves and for our families. The problem is, what we believe to be what we need is usually far in excess of what we actually need. And sometimes God comes and he destroys our security. Sometimes he comes and he knocks us down when we think we can stand. Brethren, we need to realize that we shouldn't be like Israel and put God out of our mind and forget our Maker. Rather, he should be at the centre of our thoughts, the centre of our lives, the centre of all that we do and all that we desire. May we learn from the mistake of God's people back in Hosea's day. And may what God said to them be a means that God uses to draw us back from the brink of falling into the abyss of 21st century materialism. May God be pleased to bless these thoughts to us today. Every blessing, brethren.